your roadmap to the latest in auto. Welcome to Highway Herald. Today, we're breaking down the escalating Canada-China trade war that's impacting more than just the auto industry. What started with electric vehicles has turned into a global conflict affecting everything from manufacturing to agriculture. Prices are rising, industries are shifting, and the ripple effects are far-reaching. In this video, we'll explore the 7 key factors driving this geopolitical standoff and what it means for the future. Let's dive in. Number 7. Canada's EV tariffs, strategic defense or high-stakes gamble. Canada ignited a trade war by imposing a 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles, sending shockwaves through bilateral trade relations. The Trudeau administration justified the tariffs as a response to China allegedly dumping cheap EVs, threatening local manufacturers. While protecting domestic industries seems logical, the decision could have broader consequences. Canada also framed this as an ethical stand against China's labor practices and environmental policies. However, the timing raises concerns. With the Canadian EV market expected to exceed $100 billion by 2026, China plays a crucial role in providing affordable EVs. Cutting off access to these imports could drive up prices, making electric vehicles less accessible and slowing Canada's shift toward electric mobility, a key component of its climate goals. Are these tariffs truly protecting Canada's auto industry, or are they risking its leadership in the global green energy movement? Number 6. China's canola retaliation, targeting Canada's agricultural goldmine. In retaliation, China targeted one of Canada's key agricultural exports, canola, by launching an anti-dumping investigation. Since over 50% of Canada's canola exports go to China, the threat of losing this market sent shockwaves through the agricultural sector. The effects were immediate. Canola futures dropped 7%, while competing crops like rapeseed saw a 6% price increase. Canadian canola exports to China had already surged by 170% year over year, making the potential loss devastating for an industry central to Canada's rural economy. Despite government efforts to downplay the issue, Canadian farmers are raising alarms. The loss of the Chinese market could have long-term consequences, leaving many to question whether the government can negotiate a swift resolution. With tensions high, the path to recovery for Canada's agricultural exports looks uncertain and challenging. Number 5. Steel and aluminum, Canada's industrial backbone under fire. Canada's 25% tariff on Chinese steel and aluminum has intensified trade tensions, aiming to counteract unfair pricing and exploitative labor practices. However, like the EV tariffs, these measures are impacting the broader Canadian economy. Steel and aluminum are crucial for industries such as construction, automotive, and aerospace. The tariffs are expected to raise costs for Canadian companies dependent on these imports, which will likely result in higher prices for consumers on everyday goods like cars and appliances. The timing is problematic, as global supply chains are still recovering from COVID-19 disruptions. Introducing tariffs now could exacerbate delays and further increase costs. Analysts warn that this decision might hinder Canada's post-pandemic recovery, especially for industries heavily reliant on affordable materials. The ripple effects could affect the economy long-term as businesses struggle to adjust to rising costs and supply challenges. Before we delve deeper, we'd appreciate it if you could subscribe to Highway Herald. Your support fuels our passion to create more content like this. Now let's explore number 4, agriculture on the edge. Farmers take the biggest hit. Canadian farmers are bearing the brunt of the trade war, especially following China's actions against the canola industry. Rumors suggest that Beijing may expand its trade restrictions to other vital Canadian agricultural exports, such as barley, pork, and wheat. If these threats become reality, the economic fallout could be catastrophic. Agriculture is a way of life for many rural communities in Canada. Losing China, the second largest importer of Canadian agricultural products, could spell financial disaster for countless farmers and rural economies. Farmers are urging the Canadian government to find a solution before more damage occurs, but trade disputes are rarely resolved quickly. Even if this clash ends, regaining a foothold in China's competitive market could take years, leaving uncertainty looming over the agricultural sector's future. Number 3. Price surge for consumers. What to expect in Canada. The ripple effects of the Canada-China trade conflict are reaching the everyday lives of Canadian consumers. With tariffs on electric vehicles, steel, and aluminum, production costs are rising, leading to higher prices for goods. Automakers are already facing increased expenses, which are passed down to buyers. For Canadians hoping to embrace green technology, EVs, already pricier than traditional gas-powered cars, will become even less affordable, potentially hindering the nation's push for wider EV adoption. Moreover, these tariffs affect more than just the automotive sector. A variety of consumer goods, including household appliances and canned food, will also see price hikes due to soaring raw material costs. This rise in living expenses, combined with a weakening Canadian dollar, presents a grim outlook for consumers. As the trade standoff continues, inflationary pressure could tighten household budgets and lead to economic uncertainty. Number 2. Trudeau's high-stakes gamble, balancing diplomacy and retaliation. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has adopted a confrontational approach, framing tariffs on Chinese goods as a way to hold China accountable for its labor and environmental practices. His government argues that these measures are about principles and protecting Canadian industries from unfair competition. While this firm stance may resonate with voters wanting stronger trade policies, it could come at a high cost. Canada's relationship with China has been fragile since the Huawei controversy in 2018, and this trade war is deepening that divide. Although Trudeau may gain political support at home, he risks further alienating China, Canada's second-largest trading partner. China has retaliated by investigating Canadian agricultural exports like canola, and more tariffs could follow. If diplomatic efforts falter, Canada could face long-lasting economic consequences. The question remains whether this tough stance will pay off or cost the nation more than it can afford. Number 1. Global impact, the ripple effect on international trade. The Canada-China trade conflict is shaking up global trade, with nations closely monitoring the situation, especially in agriculture and automotive manufacturing. For instance, Europe is feeling the impact as China initiates retaliatory investigations into EU exports like pork and dairy, prompted by European restrictions on Chinese EVs. This situation highlights the fragility of global trade relationships and how one dispute can trigger a chain reaction. In response, Canada aims to diversify its trade partnerships, notably through agreements like the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. However, with the global landscape shifting, it's uncertain if this will be enough to mitigate the loss of Chinese markets. If tensions remain unresolved, it could lead to a fracturing of global trade alliances, leaving countries to protect their economies from the fallout Canada and China are currently facing. Whether this fragmentation will benefit or endanger Canada is still unclear. What's next for Canada and China's trade relations? As both countries dig in their heels, it's unclear how or when this trade war will end. For Canada, cutting ties with China could lead to significant economic damage, while China risks disrupting its agricultural imports and supply chains. The Canadian government is actively exploring diplomatic solutions to de-escalate the situation, but with both nations showing little willingness to compromise, the future remains uncertain. Could mediation help resolve the tensions, or are both economies in for a long, drawn-out standoff? Now that you've heard the breakdown, we want to hear from you. How do you think this trade war will shape Canada's economy in the coming months? Do you see a diplomatic resolution in the near future, or will the standoff continue to escalate? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe to Highway Herald for more updates on the latest vehicle news and trade developments. Hit that bell icon to get notified when we release our next video. See you next time.